What's up, fam? We got to get this going. Gonna have some music playing for a little bit, but the markets, hey man, is this crypto move confirmed? We got some key signals to look at. We have some cautionary tales we have to discuss, and we've got to look at what's going on in this market. I got a great guest lined up for today. You're not going to believe who it is. Everybody, if you are tuned in over here on YouTube or Twitter, head over to my page at Kelly Kellam or at Academy BitLab and get this reposted, get this retweeted, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. I got a couple more charts to prepare. We're going to be getting going here in just a few minutes. So let me go ahead and turn on the countdown. Everybody, if you're ready, let's get this pumped out to friends and family. Let's talk about it. We got meaningful tools, content, resources, and the best community in crypto. We're going to be getting going here in just a few minutes, so let's ride, baby. Let's see how many pre-stream comments we can get in this live chat. Let's get it flowing. Everybody type in here what you're grateful for. Tell me which coin in your portfolio you think is going to perform the best. Do you think we will have October actual showing bullishness? Or do you think we're stuck in a choppy zone until the end of this month, until we get that big date in November? Let us know what you're thinking. Let's talk about it. Bring up some coins. Post some coins you want to talk about. Make sure you're hitting that like button, subscribe button, ding the bell, and retweeting this over on Twitter, whether it's at Kelly Kellam, Kelly, is that Twitter page, or at Academy BitLab. We got some things we got to dive into here. Loving you guys. Let's get it. Everybody, it's time to dive into these charts. It's time to dive into these signals. We have a great guest lined up. Everybody, let's get active. Everybody, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. We got some signals that are confirming something. What is it? Let's go. The markets are moving. Bitcoin is giving signals to emotions and to strategy traders, which are making a lot of money and which are losing a lot of money, depending on how you are engaging with this market. We have an incredible guest lined up to pop in the show here in about 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes. But before that, we've got to talk about what's going on here on this chart, because we talked about this yesterday, discussing the chop that was involved in this market. I mean, it's just going up and down and up and down and taking money, hand over fist. Actually, I'd take that back. It's not taking any money. There's people in this market that are giving their money away because they do not utilize strategies to look at what's going on, hold when they need to, sit on their hands when they need to. We talked about this potential bounce here, which would result in a likely move up into the zone, or a breakdown from this sort of head and shoulders like pattern here, in which we are targeting this area. I mean, 60,166. In fact, if we actually move this to the bottom of that line, let's see that, boom, 60,242. If we zoom in on the candle, it went the lowest. It's this one right here. Look at this OHLC. That's open, high, low, close of each candle. So if I put my mouse over this candle, the low of that is 60,292. And let's look at where the bottom, this line that we've had here for months. What does that say? 60,242. So essentially right on the money. But this is looking very weak. This also looks like a shoulder, head, shoulder in this zone. Do we have stand to reason to consider a move down to this zone down here in the $54,000 to $56,000 range, where we've got a pretty substantial support level, which is right here about this 58,000. So will this be a trap? We're going to talk about this, and we have so many different charts that we're going to be going over here to keep you in the know about what's going on in this market. Now, if you're just tuning in, my name's Kellam. Welcome to the BitLab Academy daily stream, where we bring you meaningful tools, content, resources, and a god darn good community. Everybody here, we don't do trolls. We don't, if you got an issue, you reach out. You don't go causing slander. You don't, have a crybaby moment because you did something that was silly in your portfolio. I'm here to make sure you don't step in those pitfalls. I try to bring on guests as well that I have a huge amount of respect for, and how they're navigating this market, how they're investing, how they're trading. That's what this is about, so we can grow together. I love you all. I appreciate y'all. Now make sure each and every single one of you hits that like button. Show some love back to this content that we're putting out on a daily basis. So also just remember, if you are over on, if you're watching anywhere, actually, what am I talking about? If you're watching anywhere, make sure you participate in these giveaways that we're doing on a weekly basis. And all you got to do is head over to my page right here at Kellam or at Academy BitLab. And you see right here, hit that retweet, hit that like button on this daily live stream here on Twitter. Even if you're watching on YouTube, come over here and hit that retweet. That enters you to win. We've given away hundreds of thousands of dollars over this last year. We've given away different merchandise. We've given away different access. We've given away memberships. All you got to do is help participate, spreading the good word of where people can come get meaningful tools, content, and resources. Shout out Falco gifting a membership here on the channel. Well, shout out to you, my friend. And I think I missed, you did some membership giveaways yesterday, and I saw it right as I was closing out the stream. So big love to you. Now I'm going to run through some charts here. We got some TA to talk about. We got a different voice with a different lens on this market, and that's what this is about. I want to give you access to some of the many different amazing community members that are in this space. And that's what we do here at BitLab. Let me go ahead and turn off this right here. Now, when we're talking about what's going on in this market, we got to ask ourselves, what are the different things pulling the strings? Scott Melker, my guy, the wolf of all streets, thank God, he lives down in Gainesville, down in Florida. Thank God he, their family was not, very rainy, but they were not too affected by the storm last night. My heart's prayers, compassion, love, empathy goes out to anybody that's been affected by this, even if it's just emotionally. I do want to shout that out. Now, looking at this, he said inflation is still trending down. Markets react to results versus somewhat arbitrary expectations. Remember, the expectation is what the miss was, not the inflation not going down, not the actual trend. What is he talking about? 2.5 was last month. This month is 2.4. That is down, but the expectation was 2.3. So we didn't go down as much as they wanted. And so just realize that some of the things going on in this market right now are some whale games, are some manipulation games, are some large liquidity games getting you committed to go the wrong direction. I'm going to show you why here in just a few moments. So stick around for that. We got 176 people just popped in here, 349 people watching. Every single one of you, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. If you are ready for this market to go up, of course, maybe it doesn't happen until next year. I doubt that's going to be the case. I do think that the signs, signals, and pressures that are going to support this upward movement are just building to the point that you cannot suppress it any longer. Can we get a washout to the downside? Absolutely, and I am going to be prepared if we do. But the probabilities right now are leaning towards upside price action. And why is that? Because remember, we have ETFs now. Remember, we have some of the biggest asset managers in the world that are out there pushing Bitcoin. And that in turn also is going to be very bullish for altcoins. But that might also have something to do with what administration we get in November. So let's stay a little bit cautious in that regard. But considering what's going on here, look, just in 9.57 trillion, not billion, not million, not hundred, not thousand, $9.57 trillion institution, Charles Schwab survey shows almost half of its respondents plan to invest in Bitcoin and crypto ETFs. Now, this is beyond bonds. This is beyond real assets. This is beyond international equity. This is major. This is a major bullish wind. This is like seeing a forecast before a tornado hits and knowing if you're a storm chaser, that's where you're going. If you are somebody who's trying to protect your life, you get out of the way. In this case, the data is suggesting that there is a wind, a tidal wave of capital. And it's not just Charles Schwab, it's the world over. The people are waking up to the best asset class in history. Now, moving on to the next chart, let's go ahead and do a little, I'm going to do a bookmark there. I like to engage with the content that I see, that I resonate with, that makes me question, that also that I'm sharing here on stream. And I hope all of you, when you are watching any content out there, regardless of if it's crypto or even do-it-yourself home how-tos, when you are watching something and it gives you any sort of impact at all, show some engagement. This is how we make our livelihood, and it does help the algorithm. Now, continuing on, what else we see? Well, 1.5 million Bitcoin has been accumulated by whales. Let's say that again. Not $1.5 million. 1.5 million Bitcoin has been accumulated by whales with over 1,000 Bitcoin. This isn't just ETFs. This is a huge amount of money in the broad array of different addresses out there that have more than 1,000 Bitcoin on balance over the last 6 months. So 1.5 million Bitcoin has been accumulated in the last 6 months. What has been the last 6 months? The last 6 months has been this period. In fact, this has been about a little over 7 months now since we hit that all-time high here at $73,800, March 13th. So in this time where some people are wondering, is it all over? 1.5 million Bitcoin has been accumulated by people that have a pretty big impact on where the market's going. They're stacking up before higher prices. This is what you need to understand. When we continue on, let's go hit that like button. By the way, make sure you're following Axel Adler Jr. Wonderful, wonderful information he shares on a daily basis. Yeah, Big Tip Shark, you're welcome. I think some of those wallets and giveaways that we did got pushed out. You guys received them, so shout out. Crypto Dank says, hey, brother, CPI data report amidst all this hurricane of macro push us into our ever-waiting big dip before the run. Sol testing support, 137. Well, we can look at Sol here in a little bit, but we got a guest coming on, so we might have to see what direction he takes the reins on the conversation today. Now, also, when in doubt, zoom out. Okay, Bitcoin bullish momentum remains intact. Nothing has changed, everybody. The 50-day simple moving average. Or this is a 50-week simple moving average. So what would that be? A major amount of time showing this is where we tested here before we ultimately got the all-time high. Look at this. Test here, test here, test here. Now, will we get a breakdown? If we do get a breakdown, I'm leaning towards the idea that it is a bit of a sculpted, narrative-focused intentional move by big players, which is very possible, especially considering everything going on globally and the fact that the world is just now waking up to crypto. And I mean, yes, we're all here. We are front running billions of people and millions of institutions, but now they have access. Do they feel like the boat's run away? Are they going to bring the price back? That's what you have to be prepared for. As bullish as I am okay, and I'm aware that we may get something like we saw back here in March. Of course, it would be for a completely different reason, but everything feels like the news cycle. I mean, I was thinking about this. I was talking with somebody about it yesterday. Things are so wild in the news cycle right now. I haven't even been watching. There's so many great TV shows and movies. I go home and I turn on the news and I eat popcorn. I'm like, what the absolute is going on? It is so wild. You can't even guess some of the narrative plays that are going on and the context globally, geopolitically, socioeconomically, what's going on with socioculturally. It's just like my brain hurts. But there's a way you can step outside of all that, and that is to make sure you are investing in your future, making sure you are taking advantage of the best opportunity of our lifetime. And that is agnostic to all this nonsense, all this nonsense, all this bullshit that's going on the world over. We can Bitcoin. We can find different assets that we want to invest in and make sure that we're preparing for our future. So when we come to this chart and we see historically, yes, this time's different, but it's always different in some concerted ways. We need different. So I welcome it. But when we look at this, we've seen this downtrend in RSI and the breakout boom. At the same point, we had a crossover in MACD, massive upside there from about 38,000 up to 70,000. And then we see right here also this multi-month accumulation range that happened last summer into the ultimate sort of breakdown that formed that base. But also what we get, the breakout of the RSI, the breakout of the MACD, and upside. This also is a speculative push up into the impending ETF approval or denial. We got the approval and then, oh my God, it's over. This is when people say it's over. You see this move right here. Let me zoom in on that just a touch. There we go. It was over. It was all fake. That ETF was fake. And then boom, they try to get you. They try to get you to lose your conviction. And that's when it absolutely explodes. And this also came at a time. Look at this. Same thing. MACD crossover, boom, up. Now, what are we seeing where we're at right now? Let's zoom out back a little bit. Look at this. Very similar to what we saw back here coming into this move. But looking at the downtrend in RSI, the clear breakout in RSI, higher low in RSI, while we're getting, this downtrend here on the price action, but we also got the breakout, we got the MACD crossover, and this is very bullish in the mid time frame. However, we do need to be a little concerned, right? You always need to protect yourself. You can't be blindly bullish. You cannot be blindly bullish. You need to pay attention to the fact that the MACD is having a little bit of a question about its identity at the moment. Is it a bull? Is it a bear? Well, it's going to let you know soon. But I do think if we do get a breakdown at this point, it's going to be an opportunity, whether that comes down to, that 54 to 50, 54, 56 range, or we absolutely break structure and scare people by, let's go out to the 4 hour, because this is a possibility. If we break down, because look at this is looking very bearish. If we do lose this 59,000, I'm watching this sort of $58,000 range, but then ultimately this target, which is not arbitrary, we are looking at this basically from the sort of shoulder, head, shoulder. If we measure from this neckline down to this the head to the bottom of this neckline, we measure this out. This is suggesting retesting back into this $55,000 zone, which also happens to be this line that we have tested time and time again. It also acts as the median point for this giant pattern that we have just been ripping people's faces off that do not have the constitution to make it through and be profitable in this cycle. So even coming all the way down to here, still higher low. In fact, look at this. I just noticed this. Look at this. bounce, bounce, multiple targets showing here about 55.6, 55.7. And this coming all the way down to here would ultimately still be very bullish in the entire structural period that we've been in here, because you're in the upper half of this bound. You're holding support on this multi touch point here. It's also the target down out of this. A lot going on here, and it's still a higher low. If we do break below this, I start getting a little worried in the near term here at 52.8, 52.5, that we may have a bigger move that really, really washes people out. And I think if this were to happen, that's where you get that sort of spring that absolutely rockets. This is when you get people really getting worried in the market. But I'm not. We got the map. We're looking at the chart. Now that's if we get the bullish, the sort of bearish, the bear bull case. If this does, sort of hold in the zone that we're at right now, if this does hold in this box and it just kind of chops sideways, maybe a little bit of a bear trap and come up, holding anywhere at this zone or above, especially through the end of this week, would be ultimately very bullish. Remember that I talked about on October 1st, everybody said October is over. And I said, well, it's the first day. October 4th, I said, okay, well, let's look at the price action October 2023. And what did we see? We saw a move 7.4% down that then resulted in a 33% move up from there, which was essentially about 29% for the month of October. It dropped before it pumped? Yes. Why would it do that? It's trying to take the money of people that are not patient. This is the nature of how markets work. So let's continue on. We're going to get into some more TA here in a few minutes with our guests, but we're seeing 1.5 million Bitcoin in the last 6 months during all of this period that we just talked about. This period of, okay, let's just worry the hell out of everybody. We finally hit that 160. In fact, we're at 174 days now post-halving, right in line with everything we've talked about. So do you understand how we pull together these different tools? I'm looking at bearish cases. I'm looking at bullish cases. I try to see which direction has the most support behind it, where the largest confluence of data is, and the probabilities are up, but we have to pay attention when we come over here and we look at where we're at. I'm going to show you two things here, a bullish case and a bearish case. This is where we're at. This is the current cycle. You see this? We're right in exactly where we were compared to the last two cycles. Perfectly in line. When we zoom down here and we see this is where we are at right here. This is the third halving. You see this? These are adjusted by, this is adjusted by realized price. This up here is adjusted by halving scale by realized price. This just shows it a much longer period that you can see where we're at. But then if you scroll down here, I want you to notice scale by short-term holder cost basis, because they are chopping people out. So that short-term holder cost basis is rising. We kind of keep going a little bit below it. We are having a little deviation below the previous two cycles. This is where I'm looking right here. We are deviated a little below, right? But the other thing we're watching right now, all eyes are on what is the certainty level in the traditional markets. Because if certainty evaporates, aka risk comes out of markets, then we may see a larger drop down into this low 40 sort of zone that we've been talking about for quite some time. That's the bear case. But the bull case shows us still perfectly in line with what we've seen previous halving cycles. We've got to take into account the data here and realize that whales have been stacking. Maybe there's a washout coming, but if there is, I'm not capitulating. I'm adding to my positions. I don't know what you're doing. I'm still very bullishly convicted on what's happening over the next 12 months. All the noise that's happening between now and the end of November is noise. Noise that you could take advantage of other people misreading. That's what we need to realize. Sinza says, I'm losing hope, man. Well, hey, note that every emotion you're feeling in this market, other people, not everybody, but some people are feeling too. I don't want to say complacent. I'm getting very tired of this choppy range, but it's also because I'm a content creator within the crypto ecosystem. When this engagement becomes boring or people become complacent, the engagement on the data, the engagement, the number of people interacting and engaging with these types of, whether it's Twitter posts or YouTube streams or posts on TikTok or on Instagram. Because guys, we're not just here on live on YouTube. We've got, let's see, 458 people watching right now. 203 of them are on YouTube. The rest are on Twitter. So, and again, I just want to shout out. Remember, we do giveaways every week. Tomorrow's the next giveaway. Head over to my page right here. I'm going to share this with you. This link, go and retweet and hit that like button. We are drawing tomorrow. You get entered to win. We do giveaways every week. It's been dollars, it's been USDT, it's been merchandise, it's been memberships. We do all kind of stuff over there and just showing some love for you all, helping support, getting the word out. Now, continuing on here, let's go ahead and take this off the screen and we can see a couple other things that we got our guest popping in here in just a few minutes. We talked about the breakout here, multiple breakout. It doesn't mean it's up only from here. We're coming into the end of the range that we will likely be in before we get a big move. And the big move could be that whipsaw, both directions, massive bear trap, then launch. We may get a bull trap up, really committing people long, then getting a washout down, then up. We're going to be watching this on a daily basis. If somebody's giving the exact answer, run away from them because there isn't an exact answer. We got to be nimble. We got to be quick. We got to make sure that we are practicing risk management, but making sure we're taking advantage of the opportunities as they present themselves. And we are kind of front running the different possibilities that are there so that we can be in position and also not get out of position in the wrong moment. Most people get out in the wrong moment and then get back in the wrong moment, chopping themselves out in both directions. Now, continuing on, what do we see? Global central banks. This is that fuel that we're all talking about. This is one of the reasons why I still feel like there's an overwhelming probability that the resolution out of this range in the next 3 months is going to be massively to the upside because the global liquidity cycle. Global central banks, with the exception of the Bank of Japan, global central banks, with the exception of the Bank of Japan, one country, are easing their policies. This is boosting liquidity, aka fuel to push up, which is expected to have a positive impact on assets such as stocks, gold, and Bitcoin. Another great chart here from Axel Adler Jr. And you can see this is that M2 global money supply. And look at this start of the tick up here, boom, up. Start breaking a previous high, boom, tick up. And what did we see? This front ran, boom, that move up. What do we see here? We have a new high. The price action is not yet followed. Sometimes it takes some time. This was at 170, 180 days we saw last cycle, and then we had the move. We've already had 174 days. However, the difference here is this is we have 180 days. We do have this run up, but this came all the way down. This front ran very heavily right here, right at the halving is when we got that huge uptick. We had the halving here. We didn't get the huge uptick in liquidity to start until several months later. So we may remember this market dynamic, the way the liquidity flows in this market changes and adjusts every cycle based on what's happening geoeconomically. So much is going on right now. So did we pass the 170-day mark? Yeah, Kelly. And it should be going up, and away from here? Sure. No, we need to take in all the things in context in this market. So with that being said, I got two more things I want to show you. One of them is this, and then we got our guest sitting here in the wings. I want you all to guess who this guest is. Everybody type it in. Let's see if anybody can guess who it is. But I shared this morning. And I said this, Bitcoin Ultra Bull trend signal suggests up is the next major move after breaking out of this trend fib. After breaking out of this fib channel. This is a trend fib channel right here. So we're seeing how this rejection, support, now we break out. We had a little bit of consolidation, same thing. Rejection, consolidation with the pretty big washout, and then the breakout, that's parabola. The breakout, that's parabola. The breakout, that's parabola. And this is based on Fibonacci extensions of the realized price. Some on-chain data chart I coded out and made a couple years ago on a Looknode over here at Looknode _com. And we're seeing this is not below the bull floor band, which is this purple line. We did get a washout below it here, but this was a black swan. If we get a black swan, we may likely dip down. Maybe we'll get something in the 30s. I will be jumping for joy if we did. But you can see in this case, the rejection found support on this and pushed up. Back here, I don't know if you can see it under my head, but you can also see it back in this zone right here. It also pushed up, rejected, found support on that bull control band, and then broke to the upside. So with that being said, guys, I'm super bullish. Bollinger Band with percentile on the 2-week chart. Only the second time it's done this. Firing off the charts, the volatility is ready to explode. And then, of course, this cautionary signal that I pointed to you all yesterday, which is, what was that? Massive caution or massive signal was the question mark. Caution here if you're not already positioned, whether that's short-term time frame trading or long-term positions. And that was because of this from the Byzantine General. We see this massive uptrend right here. You see the aggregated open interest, massive uptick here. Boom, on the 1-hour chart as the price action was falling. And we're seeing that means a lot of liquidity was coming in. So with that being said, I think we got our boy assigned here. Just going to shout out to you there in the live chat. You sitting there in the green room. Make sure you share your screen too ahead of time so I can assign you to make sure you fill up all the right windows here. Now, before we dive into him, I do want to shout out, there's all kind of hacks going around. There's people taking money. There's people breaking into wallets. There's government files being stolen. There's identities being stolen everywhere. And that's one of the reasons why I partnered with one of the best VPN services out there. That is NordVPN. You can see right here, the link is directly, it's pinned in the top of the live chat. I will post this right there. You get 4 months free. Hold on, I got to copy that. Sorry. You get 4 months free if you sign up with us on that deal. You also help and support the channel. But more importantly than anything, you are making sure that you are protecting yourself in this wild world that we have with just never-ending advancements in scam technology. So make sure you head over to nordvpn.com/BitLab, BITLAB. Again, that's nordvpn.com/BitLab. You get 4 extra months free. Mega discount. You got the deal right there. You can make sure, especially remember, we just saw Discord got banned for people in Turkey. Well, if you have NordVPN, you can pick where you want your IP and proxies to be from. And it's something I highly recommend for every single person out there. So with that being said, we got the man himself, Mr. Piano Matty B. How you doing, good sir?
How's it going?
Hey, man.
Can you hear me? I don't know if I set up everything right here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great. Can you not hear me?
Yeah. This is the first time I've actually been on an eCam because I use eCam and usually everyone else doesn't. So we're like the only 2 eCammers, I think, in the biz right now that I know of.
Hey, man, we're just trying to make sure we bring people the best quality stuff. You know what I mean?
Roger that. I see that you're pretty bullish. That's good to hear.
I'm very bullish with the caveat. I do think we're ripe. I do think we're ripe for an opportunity for a pretty big whipsaw action. And I do think more than the last election cycles we've seen where it's like an election and then everything pumps. I do think we're ripe for a little bit more uncertainty in this cycle because it's so crypto. I don't want to say aligned. There's so much more engagement. Even the acknowledgement of crypto wasn't present in the last election cycle. So I feel like there's a little uncertainty in that regard, which may be why S&P 500 is pumping and you're seeing Bitcoin kind of consolidate sideways.
I have a question for you, actually. Seeing as though we are kind of out of our cycle norms now with this long 7-8 month consolidation, at what point do you officially say it's broken and perhaps we may not see another higher high, or is that completely off the books?
I think considering the global liquidity cycle, that's what I'm watching. If they do something different with global liquidity and all of a sudden the entire world, governments all wake up and say, you know what, we need to stop printing. So I'm going to ask you a question to throw it back to you. How likely do you think that is? That they're going to say, you know what, this is wrong, we shouldn't print?
I think it's actually impossible. You know, that's a great point because really these cycles, you know, you get a small cycle, a bigger cycle, and then a bigger cycle within all these small cycles. It really is one thing, and it's global liquidity is the key factor in all these cycles. So yeah, I agree. If how can these governments stop printing money? They're so in debt. That's just the money printers on probably forever until the collapse. When does that collapse? Geez, I don't know. I mean, I agree with you there. I think there may be another washout just because I always say the market wants to take as few people with it as possible when it takes off. But man, is it ever doing a good job of weeding out the weak hands right now? I swear to God, the past 7 months has been harder for me than the bear market.
It is. And I talk to people about this also regularly, that there's different people that invest in trade and do better in different types of scenarios. There's guys that I know that will not trade until we have a defined trend on the 4 hour that's back to the upside. There's other people that only trade head and shoulders reversals down. Other people only like to trade these ranges. And you got to know what your skill set is and where your strengths and weaknesses are. You don't need to jump at every single trade. Now, for those of you that are trading, of course, we have our free traders group. But the whole purpose of that is to make sure that people can see what different strategies are being used and how, where, when, and why people are entering or exiting trades. Now, I agree. I'm feeling a bit, and I admit it. If anybody of you that are watching right now, if you feel fatigued by this price action over the last 7 months, throw a 1 in chat. I think we probably see 127 different ones in chat after that, because it's true. This is fatiguing. And I think one of the most destructive things in markets is when price action trends sideways, like we saw in Chainlink for 560 days or something. And then what did it do? Boom, broke out. Everybody thought that they missed the boat, so they jumped into the top. What happened? We got another opportunity back down at $8. So what are you looking at in the charts? Let's pull up some of your charts, man.
Well, here's the funny thing about the charts. We just played out this cute little bear flag here. It's just, this is a textbook bear flag for everyone that's never seen one. And when I charted this out, I think it was on Monday, I'm like, geez, I don't really want to see this play out. I feel like the sentiment is such in the toilet now that to see another leg down would just kind of be heartbreaking. But sure enough, we basically played her out. Now, what's even worse is that one might say that there's another little bear flag playing out. And again, if you take the poll, you slide it all to the breakout point, and then we're all at 58.5. And this is an interesting number because this is the support of an old channel of eternal monotony. If you can see how long we are in here, we don't spend a lot of time in this channel. So I'm expecting one of two things. We either bounce right back up and get the hell out of here, because we don't like to spend time in this channel. We're usually outside of, but if we can't get back up there, say we get rejected off the 200 again, we'll probably go down to support, and that'll be painful for sentiment. But the important thing about 58.5, we take a look at the dollar. Look how noisy these charts are. I just keep all the doodles up here. We've been under the 200 moving average for 67 days, and under the 200 moving average on the daily chart does not a bull market make. So if we're underneath this 200 moving average, we're just not bullish. I've said today on my stream that our bare minimum are 0 or 1% bullish. When am I 1% bullish? Well, not until we're over the 200 moving average. But if we take a look at some of our time differentials with the 200 moving average, when was the last time we were underneath it for this long? Way back. And this was in August of 2023. Basically, let's call it a year and a bit ago. We were 66 days before we broke out. Now we're 67 days now, so we're at the same amount of time. We don't remember. This is the funny thing about all these consolidations and all these long, boring patterns. Once they're gone and we explode up, boom. Consolidation. Well, we have no. Did you remember this? Nobody remembers these 66 days of complete purgatory consolidatrix. And then we go back into the bear market, and this is where underneath the 200 moving average really makes sense. So in the bear market, we were under for 395 days. We didn't really notice. We were so under it. We're just like, we had no clue we were so under it. But the interesting thing was in 2021 in the bull market, after we hit our first peak here, 64K, let's call it, we came down underneath the 200 moving average. Now, can you believe this? For 93 days. I can't remember that. I know that we did have this dip, but I don't remember being under the 200 moving average for 93 days. Now I ask you, Kelly, do you got 30 more days in you if we were to fractaliciously play this out for another 30 days? Can you hang in here? I'm not saying in this consolidation pattern, I'm saying underneath the 200 moving average. That means underneath arguably 62K for another month. Can you do it, Kelly?
I mean, look, my hat's getting crazy. You know, I'm just like, I'm at the point now where I'm just like, I am all in, baby. I of course I have some other investments, smaller investments outside crypto, but I believe in this so much that yeah, I can hold on for another 30 days. Of course, I can. Even if I was mentioning this earlier, even if we get a little bit of a, maybe October isn't bullish. Maybe November has a little bit more turbulence based on what happened. We don't know. I mentioned this before you came on. I'm not even really, I love good TV shows. I love movies. I haven't even been inspired to watch anything lately because there's nothing better than the news cycle right now. It's like, what in the world is going on? So I'm not counting anything out. The one thing I will count on is the fixed supply of Bitcoin and the ever exponential increasing of access and basically positioning that is being set up. So even if we waited another 3 years, which I don't see happening, I do think that the result in Bitcoin is going to be to the upside for sure.
I forgot the significance of the 58.5 on the 4-hour chart. If we just quickly go back there, this is where this bear flag plays out. There's confluence everywhere on these charts, and this is what I don't like about it. So I say it's like when we come into focus, when a fib and a support and a resistance and a fib are all aligned, the market is in focus. And when it comes out of focus, when the supports and the Fibonacci's are all over the place, it's like the probabilities of these patterns get less and less. But as you see, 58.5 on the 4-hour is also 58.5. This it's the goldenest of golden ratios, the 61.8% fib over here on the daily. Now, I always say all charts love to hit the 61.8% fib before they go back up. So that's a second confluence. Then if we go to the weekly, we can see 58.5 is right on this channel of descension where this wick is. And on my channel, I always say that which once wicked will get candlesticked. It's almost like our own personal CME gap every time we see one of these things. And we have touched it, but we haven't closed the candle. So in order for this wick to get candlestick, we would need to hit that 58.5 and close it. So 58.5 is triple word score there on that bearish metric. I don't want to do it, but you know, last thing I'll say about the 61.8% fib, and this is where it gets kind of nefarious and very bearish, and nobody wants to hear this, but because I say the charts like to realign with the 61.8% fib. Where is it on the monthly chart? And this is a slow moving, watching economic paint dry. So I'm not saying it has to reset on this monthly chart. I'm just saying most charts do. We've seen it happen on the 4-hour, the daily, and the weekly. The one it hasn't happened on yet is the monthly, and that monthly takes us down to 43K. Now, have you played with that 43K number before on your charts? Has it come up?
Yeah, I brought that up a few days ago, talking about essentially a couple things. If I throw it over to my chart here, I think that's not going to be right. Hold on one second. Let me change my screen share. Boom. I don't know why it did that. Google Chrome. Give me one sec. Boom. There we go. That is also, just above the golden pocket. We have all this chop back here in December 2023. Essentially the ETF news speculation, the rumor sell, and then the pop. So this is right in that zone, basically 39 up to about 46. And it lines up perfectly with this downtrend support that we've had on this broadening wedge that would put us somewhere in this $40,000 to $44,000 range, which also would be above that 200-day moving average. So there's a lot of things that line up. And to your point, I'm glad you brought it up. You just said something that's very important that nobody wants to realize. And I'm a bull, but that does not mean I ignore the bearish possibilities. You said where it wicks, it will candlestick. And there's a big ass wick on August 5th that goes all the way down to 49,000. And so the question is, if we do candlestick that area, will that result in further capitulation that causes a bit of a cascade to the downside or not? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think psychologically speaking, if we were to go down there with a heavy red candle, I think that's when a lot of retail traders would be like, that's it. I've taken as much as I can. The pain is too much for me to bear. I'm out. And we'll see those, that paper hand type of retail trader capitulate out of there. That will basically maybe send another wick down, hit that 43K. I mean, we don't have the candlestick, the 61.8, but I think, a wick pretty close to that. And bear in mind, if we were to get down to that 61.8% fib, we're right around these moving averages too. So it's a nice reset for the moving averages. Just hit it, tag, you're it, and then boom, we're off to the races. One thing I do keep my peepers on here is this MACD crossing bearish. I mean, I don't think that's a normal function of a bull market. In fact, just for instance, last bull market, if you can see it here, the only time it crossed bearish, that was it. We were done. Not so. I mean, I'm really watching this MACD, and these are lagging indicators. So I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's just one of those things that when this happens, well, every time this happens, the bull market is over. So my advice to everyone, if you're wondering how healthy we are, is just keep your eyes on the MACD on the monthly chart. Because man, if she crosses bearish, I don't know what to tell you, Kelly.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we also have to consider we have a whole different type of investor getting peppered into these markets as well, buying Bitcoin exposure through the Bitcoin spot ETFs. And what will their reaction be because there are going to be people that moved over from Grayscale into those ETFs, but there's a lot of other institutions and mom and pop that have exposure through these Bitcoin spot ETFs, pension funds, all kind of stuff. I think the temperature check's going to be, how do they endure the type of volatility that we see in the matter of 3 weeks that major markets historically see over the matter of, months or years? Are they looking to, no, we're about to go into a massive uptrend, so I'm stacking into a dip, or is there going to be massive outflows on these ETFs?
Yeah, we could see like a boomerang FOMO. So what would happen is the majority of those investors that are not used to this volatility in their entire life, right? So the volatility that would occur with their ETF would be more vicious than anything they've ever experienced in their life. So what would they do? They'll phone their advisor, right? And their advisor will try to filibuster them out of getting out, right? But eventually he'll have to listen to him. It's like, listen, I can't take this. We're down 20%. Like, imagine that. Usually these old school investors, they're down 20%. That's it. So for their advisor to tell them, no, I think you should stay in. This is a good time. It's the lowest you've ever seen since you've been in, but I do think it's a good time. And then the investor's going to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't take it. This is not what I'm cut out for. Sell it, right? And then they'll get out. What will happen is the market will move against them as soon as they get out, and then they will come back harder with their own institutional FOMO. They'll blame their advisor. Why didn't you talk me out of selling? You're my advisor, right? I tried to talk you out, but you wouldn't listen. And then they get back in. Where do they get back in? At the top.
At the top. We've spoken quite a bit about Bitcoin. Are you entirely focused on Bitcoin as a metric for everything else that's going on in this market? What are some of the charts you're looking at outside of just the Bitcoin price? Whether it be the dominance, whether it be Ethereum, ETH to BTC, a couple favorite alts. Let's see what you're looking at.
The only thing outside of Bitcoin, and I always like people ask me to chart other altcoins, and to me they're basically a function of Bitcoin. It's like looking at the same chart, kind of. Bitcoin goes up, alts go up. Bitcoin goes down, alts go down, and then there's the odd breakout, which can't really be charted. It comes out of nowhere, maybe insider news that no one else knew, and then everyone gets dumped on, right? Outside of that, besides Bitcoin helps me sleep at night. I've been in alts. I've learned my lesson. I'm just not I'm not I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I'm a human minimalist. So when I see the founders, I judge them on their character, their personality, how they look, and their experience in life. So I always joke about this with Vitalik. My early bag was ETH. I was almost basically all in an ETH. But then I started looking at Vitalik, at Vitty Boo Boos, and I'm like, here is a major nerd who's never really had a girlfriend, probably. And now that he's super loaded, he's going to have plus 10 models uh, at his doorstep every night. He's going to fall in love. And one of the most important things for any man is to heal a broken heart. And if you're in the mid, if you're a founder of the second biggest digital asset in the world and you have a broken heart, well, I'm sorry, you're going to be sidelined. You know, even the strongest man, emotionally, whatever, what have you, when they have their heart broken for the first time, mind you, like when Kelly, we go back to our first time, we're talking about high school years, right? Sweet 16, 14, 15, all the end of the world. I can't believe she dumped me. Imagine being 30, a major nerd. The girl is a supermodel. And now, arguably, she has the potential to take a lot of your bag as well. And then he's got to sit there and recover from a broken heart. And I think that type of emotional intelligence I need in a founder. I need to know that the founder has maybe a couple of wives under his belt and he understands the damage that can be done with a relationship and he moves on from there. But if they don't have that, I'm very weary of it. And this altcoin environment is filled with nerds with that don't have that experience. And for me, I kind of invest in the founder. I also say they have to be high on my autistic spectrum. If I don't find that they're at least bare minimum some what is that, Asperger syndrome minimum, I'm just not into it. But usually the higher the Asperger, the higher the spectrum, the lower the sexual intelligence and the emotional intelligence. And therefore, I basically don't get into it. Long and short of that, just the serpent eats its tail. The altcoin that I am the most bullish on this bull run is Solana. And my reason for my bullishness on Solana is that the user interface is so easy. So when I think of these noobs getting in, opposed to like when I got into Bitcoin, I basically felt like I had to go deep into some sort of Dungeons and Dragons club and get all these weird myths and figure out how to get it and meet in a parking lot and by the Superstore, which is a big grocery store from us, and then write it down on paper again. Cash, it was so hard. It's easier now. But if you're a noob and you're introduced to Solana, man, it's just like, you know, clicking on iTunes or something or Apple Music or Spotify. It's like very intuitive. And I think that's going to push adoption into Solana. And Solana will probably, in my opinion, be the unsung hero of the alts. There's going to be some memes that are going to explode, obviously, right? But I think pound for pound, Solana is going to probably do the best. That's my opinion anyway.
Well, let's see how you're charting it then, baby.
Solana. Well, I don't actually have it charted, actually.
Well, let's do it live. Come on, man.
Let's do it. Okay, hold on a second.
Let's see your process. What like when you pull it up. Let's see what. And my daddy-o's in the chat. He's had this sort of funny thing for about 6 months, maybe longer, maybe a year. Maybe I could twist your arm at the end of this before you go, and you can do a little piano singing session of
Sure.
"Bring Me a Higher Low."
Well, if you look at this, I mean, what has changed from the Solana to the Bitcoin monthly chart, right? Basically nothing. But let's just take a look at the weekly here. We'll do a little bit of, see, same thing. You still have all my old channels from the last one. I'd say that right now we're basically broken out of Solana, but came back for just a retest. But we've done this is the exact same thing as Bitcoin. What I'd probably wait to see is a retest of this 50 moving average down at 130, and look at the confluence at 130. Man, Solana loves to bounce off 130. We see some wicks. That which once wicked may get candlestick. This is the carry trade, right? So just like everything dumped on August 5th or whatever that was. So will we see a wick down or a candlestick down to 110? Oh my God, Kelly, can you imagine Solana at 110? That would be maybe the gift of at that point, Solana's 110, Bitcoin's 43, right?
I mean, I hear opportunity. I saw Crypto Crank long time community member here and a friend of the channel. He said if it goes to 43, he said I'm doing a crypto face size trade, 500K, 10x if we get to 43. So this kind of goes back to that conversation also with the spot ETFs on Bitcoin. I think the same is going to be true on a couple of the top on the majors: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, maybe a couple other. I don't even want to name other ones, but I wonder how many people are out there that are saying, and this is so counterintuitive because there's a lot of people saying if it goes to 43 or if Solana goes to 110, I'm definitely going to buy. And what we've seen, I know you've seen it. You've been doing content for years as well. I see so many people post that, and then it goes to that level, and they go, well, I want it to go to 38. And then it bounces and go, I should have got it. Well, that was your plan. So have a damn plan and act on it.
Yeah, that's the one advantage of doing these charts every day, and even when you don't want to do it, you get up and you do these charts, and you make this content, right? What has saved me and has got as I've been lucky enough to get some amazing positions based on these consolidation patterns. Now, when we sit here, I remember at 16K, we'll relive this again. 16K, everyone was saying 10K. Right? The lower we got, 16K, everyone's saying 10K. I even charted out a 10K. There was a 10K possibility on the charts, but my plan was 16K. And I tell everyone that was saying 16K, this is basically the bottom, ladies and gentlemen. We may go lower, but if you get in at 16K and it goes down to 10K, yeah, you're probably going to be pissed off momentarily, but when it jumps to 26K, you won't even remember it went down to 10. When it jumps to 70, 1610 makes no difference. And that was a lucky entry based on a consolidation pattern. And then it went to 26K. And if you remember this, I think this was around in January, December, January of last year. It's hard to imagine that 26K, right? Not even a year ago. And it sat there in the consolidation pattern and everyone went crazy, including me. But because I was doing the charts every day, I realized that, well, this is what the market loves to do. It loves to consolidate, bore the pants off of everyone, and then take off when everyone capitulates. And lucky enough for me, that's another entry I got at 26. I still feel the same about where we are now in the low 60s. If you, let's say some of the noobs I know in real life, they got in at 61 and it dumped to 51, they would be panic city, right? However, when it jumps back to 100K, you'll be thanking your lucky stars at 61 that you did get in. And even at that 43K, you're exactly right. Most retail will be like, I'm going to buy. Hey, wait a second. It could get juicier. And then they miss that opportunity. And to me, 43K, and I say if it comes, well, that probably be a chance of a lifetime.
Well, one of the things that we have to consider right now is I think people need to realize everything going on in the Middle East right now suggests that if something happens, we can't call that a black swan because there's some telegraphing of a potential. So that potential, whether it happens or not, I'm talking about things getting catastrophic beyond where they're at. The potential, I think, is lending to some of the uncertainty in the market. So if something drastic happens, if you are hedging yourself, that's on you, right? I mean, that's not a black swan. The other thing is, there's two things that completely contend with each other. One was a ruling regarding FTX and that they can start dispersing that $16 billion in stablecoins back to crypto degens, which would be around December 7th. That's potentially very bullish. I think it's, if I had to guess, I don't think 16 billion is going to go back in the market. If we get 50%, that's awesome. If we get somewhere in the 75% range, that would be awesome. We saw the Mt. Gox redistributions. Everybody was worried that it was going to be sell pressure. About 82 or 83% of it was moved off of exchange into cold storage. So that proved to be very bullish. I think we'll get somewhere regionally in that range also for the stable coins getting redeployed back into the market. But that is on the same time that now we just had that ruling regarding the seized 69,000 Bitcoin, which was $3.9 billion. Does that have an impact on the certainty right now in the market? Do you think that, this is such a politically charged question. I don't mean it to be. Do you think that the party in power would sell that Bitcoin as an affront to the Bitcoin focused other campaign going on? Or if the other campaign wins, they sell it before they're out of office in January 20th as a kind of final, or do you think that they've actually are going to mean what they say and they're changing their relationship with the crypto market and not going to be acting like jackasses?
Well, there's a lot of
drop the mic
moving.
and walk off.
There's a lot of moving parts on that one. And while I explain this, I'm going to be very careful and just follow me on this. And if I get lost, I'm sorry. But when someone says the party in control selling it, I don't believe either parties are in control. I truly believe that they're just puppets that are put there by a money elite. And so I talk about concentric circles. So you and I, the retail trader, let's just call ourselves the plebs, no matter what religion, call it all. We all exist on this concentric circle. Above our concentric circle is the political parasitic class, right? And they still belong to a lot of the same religions and ways of life, but they just have a little more power and a little more money. On top of that one, and it's almost, some would say, like a pyramid shaped, there's the smallest concentric circle. Those are the money elite, and those are the people that own this concentric circle, the political parasites. They just tell them what to do. And what would happen, in my opinion, and is a little bit of a dark theory, that the money elite, the still parasitic class up top, the smallest one, will tell the political parasitic class to sell their Bitcoin, but they have a catcher's mitt in most of the hedge funds, because most of the small concentric circle people here have most of their money in a lot of the hedge funds. Almost 90% of the hedge funds are owned by a small portion of people on top of this concentric circle. So think about how great it is for them. They tell the parasitic political elite to sell into them, and they buy it. So the sell pressure will only be retail reacting, but it's just going to be a wash. Like, let's say 4 billion is sold, the market will go crazy. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. But it'll be a simultaneous buy and sell from the same people. And it's a weird theory, and it moves everywhere. But that's why I don't think, like, when it comes to like the election, once you feel divided, you know that they have won. Right? The small concentric circle has divided you. You now look at the other side as dumb or stupid. And I fall prey to this all the time. When someone believes in something that's so outrageous and so silly, I become divided and think that they're stupid. Right? And as soon as that happens, I understand that small concentric circle has all their tactics have worked on me, and I'm now part of the division. And once you're divided, you know you've lost, because really at the end of the day, Kelly, it's us against them. That's it. And if we can somehow understand that and rally our own power, whether we're plebs or doesn't matter, we have more power as plebs than the political parasites, and then the money elite are even smaller. We have the power here, but as long as we're divided, we're basically screwed.
I think that was a brilliant dissection of some possibilities that could happen here. And TJ was talking about this yesterday in the office. What if, especially with this NAV that we're seeing with Master MicroStrategy, pushing up pretty, incredibly, it's performing better on upside and performing better with smaller drops on downside. And we do have the largest controlling asset managers in the history of the world that are now dominating the top 2 Bitcoin spot ETFs, which are now the best performing spot ETFs in the history of the world, also outside of crypto, as well as, legacy finance, as well as crypto. And I was mentioning this at the beginning of this stream. When institutions feel like they may have missed a boat, they don't. They bring the boat back or put the boat where they want it. And so if the world elite, if the world money powers are waking up and making that switch over to, in some ways, being orange pilled, or realizing, let's take that out. I don't think there's a possibility that these money elite are being orange pilled. I think that they see the opposite of the cultural foundation of what Bitcoin is, which you need to be fully orange pilled. I think they're seeing that this is the best asset in the history of the world, and maybe they acted a little too slow on it. now they can actually do exactly like you just said, creating some instances and some impulses in the market that they can put it where they want, so they can reallocate Bitcoin from spot holders that are self-custody and put it into the hands of the custody of these custodians with these spot ETFs, where we're like, you sold, and they're like, drop that price. We're getting all this allocation and buying up the lion's share. And I mean, I think that's a very important consideration. And I do think that still does mean over the next 7 years, Bitcoin and beyond, Bitcoin will be moving to the upside. And this is why it's so important to hedge ourselves, practice good risk management, and realize that anything is possible. And I'm going to do my very best, and hope everybody else does as well, not to give my impatience forcing me to give my capital to other people that can be more patient, because the market can remain irrational longer than the majority can stay solvent.
There's also a dark conclusion to that theory, and is that the money power, they don't want some, right? They don't get into a game to get some. They get into the game to get all. So that's where self-custody becomes the prime directive, because I believe when they can get all the old boomer money, all the fiat money into an ETF, that ETF through the political parasitic class can be deemed, what is it, Executive 6102 when they took the gold, right? So now you have all this money and all this Bitcoin ETF spot, and all of a sudden, A, it's on hold, or B, you can only take a certain amount out, right? So you've trapped that fiat energy into the ETF, and it's a honeypot. So the most important part about any Bitcoiner's journey is to get it the hell off these exchanges. And yeah, it's great that there's adoption and it's pumping our bags, but at the end of the day, the money elite, they don't want all. They don't want some. They want all.
I mean, I think, but guys, I'm still a bull. No,
that's bullish for us. That's bullish for us as who self-custody, because that price is going to go to the moon, but in their plan is without anyone. And the fringe, we're all fringe here. What is it? 1-2% of the population has crypto, and less that has Bitcoin. So we're just fringe. We're the wicks. We're the wicks up and the wick down, as long as they have the majority. Now, they can't possibly get all. It's impossible. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. But they're going to try to get it all. Come hell or high water, they'll do their best. But us as self-custodians, we will benefit from that corruption if and when it takes place.
Oh, man.
It's getting dark here, Kelly.
No, this is such a great conversation. I think I'm going to cut out a portion of this and release it as a standalone video over on thestreet.com, as well as on my weekend stream. But I loved, you and I have known each other in the space for a couple years now. It's one, I sent you a message the other day. I was like, bro, how have we never collabed? So I'm glad you came on. Such a wealth of information, a balanced look at what's going on in the market. I got it. I mean, I'm a musician. You're a musician. You got the piano there. Can you take us out with the tune?
I can, actually. And this one I just wrote. I'm writing a crypto album that I'm meaning to kind of release at the height of the bull market, whatever that is. And this is the latest song I've written. It's called Astrology for Men. Let's do some doodles, a.k.a. Astrology for Men. Let's do some doodles, a.k.a. Astrology for Men. I see a cup and handle pattern. I see a head and shoulders in the sky. I'm looking at the moving average, convergence, divergence, the MACD. Whatever that means, let's do some doodles, a.k.a. Astrology for Men. Oh, those kooky little lines.
My guy, the man with the plan, beating the frying pan, tickling those little
I
ivory
thought maybe
keys
the
with your
stream had
hand.
ended there.
No, I was just I was flabbergasted by loving it. I appreciate you, everybody. Before we go, I do want to just shout out here, throwing it right here to Piano Matty B's page right here at Piano Matty B. It's 2 T's, as you can see there. Make sure you follow the correct people, because there's any of us content creators have so many fake profiles of people impersonating us. Give him a follow. He's also got a website, and he streams on a daily basis on YouTube and Twitter, I believe. Always putting out great content. But again, Mr. Matty B, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and we'll be having you on here again soon.
Thanks. See you later, guys.
Adios, everybody.